the weekly podcast where people reach their goals and develop confidence one mind shift habit at a time. Let's join our host, certified coach Christina.
Hello. Thank you for joining me on this episode of Conversations with Coach. I am your host, certified mindset and confidence coach, Christina Callaway. I help athletes, parents, and coaches develop the confidence they need to achieve their goals both on and off the field of play. Let me ask you a question. As a female, parents of females, family members of females, what is your greatest concern when it comes to rideshare? I can tell you what mine is: safety. According to a 2018 report, the United States has a long way to go in protecting women. A recent Thomson Reuters Foundation survey reported America is the 10th most dangerous place for women to live, and that ties with Syria as the third most dangerous place for women with regard to sexual violence. I don't know about you, but when I heard that statistic as a woman, I got nervous. The U.S. is also the only Western country to make the top 10, which includes several Middle Eastern and North African countries. The survey was based on rates of violence against women, poor economic resources, lack of access to health care, and the prevalence of harmful traditional gender roles. Now, this may surprise you as it did me, but modern ride sharing has only been around for about a decade, yet it offers a widespread, convenient alternative to public transportation. And if you're not sure what I'm talking about when it comes to rideshare, think about Uber, Lyft. Those are usually the ones that will come to your mind. In many cases, in fact, ride sharing is the only efficient mode of transportation for residents who don't own cars in certain cities. And it doesn't matter how many 5-star rides a driver or passenger has had, there's always a risk when taking a car ride with a stranger. From cases of crime, violence, and currently even posing a risk of transmitting COVID, ride sharing can be dangerous. We have all read or heard the stories of women who've had horrible and scary experiences while using ride shares. Is ride sharing safe? In 2019, Uber released its first crime report revealing that there were 3,045 sexual assaults related to rides in the United States in 2018. Uber also reported there were 235 non-consensual sexual penetrations, 9 fatal physical assaults, and 58 crash-related deaths. Now, I don't want these statistics to scare you. I don't want this information to scare you or discourage you from using rideshare. As you know, with this podcast, this is about informing and empowering. And what better way to do that than to give you the information, and not only the information, but to ask the question, so what can we do? You've come to the right episode of Conversations with Coach. My guest today started her own rideshare company, and it is specifically for women. Can we say yay for that? Because after hearing all of that, I was about to say, ain't no way I'm getting in anybody's rideshare anymore. My guest was born in New Jersey and raised in Athens, Georgia, which is how I know her. Jillian Anderson has been into technology for as long as she can remember. She had a natural gift in academics and excelled in sports as well. Another thing we share in common. Graduating from Albany State University in 2015 with a degree in computer science, she moved to Atlanta to pursue a professional basketball career. She began driving rideshare at night to match her schedule and noticed a need that was not being met in this industry. She created HERide in 2019 and has grown the company to over 27,000 downloads and 14,000 customers on the platform. Y'all, that's only 3 years. That is so great. I cannot wait to have this conversation. So please put some love in the chat and help me welcome our guest, Jillian Anderson. Hey, Jillian.
Hey, what's going on, Miss Christina?
Y'all, she's going to be calling me that just because I've known her since she was little. I know her parents. So we go way, way back. So she's going to be calling me that, and that's fine. Let me tell you, Jillian, when I heard that you were doing this, it was brought to my attention. I was like, little Jillian is doing that? And they were like, yeah. And I was like, I had not heard of this. So I immediately, my sister lives in the Atlanta area, and I immediately sent her your profile on Instagram. I was like, hey, did you know about this? And she was so excited about it. I was like, help spread the word. I was like, share this with your friends. I was like, I know her really well. And she was like, I will. So I told a little bit about your story, but share with the audience even more. I know you started doing it because of, it matched your schedule and all of that. But then just tell us a little bit more about how this came to be.
Yeah, no problem. I started driving Uber and Lyft because I needed a job that matched my schedule and it matched my workout schedule, because I worked out at least 2, sometimes 3 times a day when I was training to go pro. And so working a straight 8-hour shift wouldn't work with that type of workout schedule. So I started driving Uber and Lyft, started noticing that a lot of women used it at night, and a lot of women would tell me, hey, I was canceling rides till I got a woman driver, or I recognized the woman's name. Or they would ask me once we got in the car, once they felt comfortable, they were like, oh, can I get your personal number so I can just do cash rides so I don't have to use the Uber app? And so I noticed that just kept happening over and over again. And I was like, why doesn't these companies have an option for women to choose the gender of their driver? Because clearly there's a problem. And so I started doing some research. I saw the reports that were being made about Uber and Lyft. They weren't very detailed about how many at the time. I just knew that it was happening. And then I listened to a lot of podcasts. And so I listened to this. One of my favorite podcasts to listen to is How I Built This. It's just how I used to pass time driving because they were about an hour. The episodes are about an hour long a piece. And they had the founders of Lyft on there. And it was only 2 people. And I was like, wait. The founders of Lyft, it's only 2 people that founded this company. And so I started doing my research. I was like, wait, 2 people made this $1 billion company that's making all this money so quick. I was like, wait a minute. And so I found out that one of the founders had the same type of background that I had. And then the other founder had a business background. And I was like, wait, I can do this. I was like, I can do this. I can do an app for women. And so I did some research, looked into like the laws, because I know a lot of people have been asking me about the discrimination laws, looked into those laws, figured out that I can do this. And so I just started my own rideshare. I picked the name while I was actually at work. I was delivering pizza at the time. I was in the parking lot waiting, and I wrote the name on a napkin. I called like 3 of my friends. They were all women. And I was like, when you hear this name, HERide, and you think of rideshare, like, does it make sense? And they were like, yeah. They was like, rideshare for like women, right? And I was like, say less. And so all the women agreed. I went and trademarked it the next day before I even found a company to develop the app. And that's where I've gone since then.
That is so exciting to hear, and that is just so organic. You read about people starting a business and writing things on napkins or doing at a restaurant, or just, it's usually around food though. Even if it doesn't start there, food is brought into the picture. So there must be this correlation between food and brainstorming.
It definitely is.
And I'm not a big eater, so maybe that's something that I need to maybe I need to adjust that part about me. So you did your research, you would listen to the podcast, and you had the aha moment where it was like, wait a second, there's a need. I can do this. I totally can do this. And so you mentioned about you just doodled the name down on the napkin, HERide, and you went on and trademarked. And I hope those of you that are in the listening audience if you are an entrepreneur and you're thinking, what is the right way for me to do something? I don't know that this is the right way, but it certainly was the smart way, because you are the pioneer and a female only ride sharing, and that name, to the point of your friends, definitely puts the picture in your mind, like this is a woman-based company and it's going to pique their interest to find out even more. Now, you heard me give the statistics and they didn't sound so great, and I'll be one to tell you, I have huge apprehension when it comes to ride sharing. It's not something that I prefer to do, and it's not something that I've ever done alone. I've always done it with others because I just feel so uncomfortable. So in your company, let's talk about the women's safety.
Yeah. So when it comes to women's safety, the biggest concerns with women when it comes to rideshare is being comfortable in the rideshare, being safe. That's number one. Being safe, being comfortable, and then feeling secure. And so a lot of women have shared their experiences as drivers and as customers with me. I've had women that have told me, whenever they get male drivers, especially if they look a certain way or if they're dressed a certain way, they always end up experiencing some type of comment that's made that's inappropriate. Or they'll ask. I've had a woman passenger that told me, like, she was headed to work. She has her son walk her out to her car every time that she goes to work. Her son's he's like high school. He's a big guy, and she said that the driver was like, "Hey, is that your boyfriend?" Sir, why are you asking that question? That doesn't matter. Take me to where I need to go. Like, why? Like, so they get questions. Like, a lot of women get questions like that. I mean, it just makes them uncomfortable. And so they rather, if they had a choice, to ride with a woman, because most women that are drivers, we are simply here to drive you from point A to point B. If you talk to me, I'll talk to you. If you don't, I won't. And we would end in the conversation, and you'll get to where you need to go. But that's how most interactions happen with women drivers. They're very chill. They rather just get you to where you're going. A lot of the issues arise when it's a male versus a woman in these rideshare situations.
Right.
Being uncomfortable. So I'm giving women the option to have another option. So it's like, okay, you don't have the option to choose your driver. Well, here on this platform, all the drivers are women. So you already know what you're getting. If you take rideshare, you already know what type of driver you're going to get. Yes.
I love it. I love the fact that I can identify definitely with the feeling awkward, those who are too talkative. Now, I'm going to go ahead and do a disclaimer. This isn't happening to all women, and all men who drive for rideshare companies are not this way. So I definitely want to put that disclaimer out there. I don't want anyone, sending me something that says, hey, you bashed ours. We're not talking and pointing out that particular study that I referenced interviewed Uber and got the statistics on Uber. It wasn't anything that I, said or anything. But to that point, it is a concern that has to be addressed. And so when you heard me give those statistics about women's safety as it relates to rideshare, what was your first thoughts?
Oh, it's correct. It's probably higher than that. The numbers are actually probably higher. A lot of stuff doesn't go reported. So the information that you have is only reported information. There is so much information that goes unreported. It's actually probably higher, if not double.
Oh my goodness. When it comes to, because you said that before you developed your own company, that you were a driver for another rideshare company. And so what was your experience in the intake process of becoming a driver? What sort of screening happened or didn't happen?
So for Lyft, I was one of the early Lyft drivers that came to Atlanta. I joined Lyft in 2014 when they first came here. And so I actually liked their process, and I actually took their onboarding process and applied it to myself. So at the time, they were sending out they called them driver specialists, and those people would meet you at your house or at whatever location you wanted to meet at, and they would inspect your vehicle to make sure that it met the standards for Lyft. And then they also would, just meet you, tell you how the app worked. If you had any questions about the app, as a driver, they would show you, just do like a small tutorial with you. And then that was it. Uber didn't do that. You just signed up, submitted your paperwork, and then they were like, oh, you're approved. So that it was a very simple process for Uber. Lyft, like I said, they came to meet me and inspect my vehicle, but they got rid of that literally that same year. So they
Oh,
never went back to that method. I don't know why they got rid of that. But
okay.
yeah, that was my experience. It was a pretty smooth experience. And my experience as a driver was actually okay as well on Lyft's platform. My account ended up getting deactivated because some customer. So you have these things as drivers that you have to go through. Customers will try to get free rides. And so they'll lie and say that, oh, this driver did this or this driver did that. Lyft and Uber are very, very terrible at not like basically figuring out two sides to the story. They're not good at investigating situations like that. And so the more to not lose the customer service, they'll just deactivate a driver's account.
Oh,
No
wow.
explanation, no nothing. They'll just be like, oh yeah, driver made a complaint, your account's deactivated. So that happened to me with Lyft. And then with Uber, I actually stopped driving for them because a customer refused to get out of my car one night, made me uncomfortable. So I switched to doing the food delivery only.
Right.
Yeah. Yep.
Oh, wow. So there's two sides to it, to your point of that as a passenger seeking to use the service, there is that. And then on the other side, if you're a female driver, there's safety involved for you as well. What would be some things that you would share with the listening audience who particularly are female, or they're concerned for the females' safety in their lives as it relates to Rideshare? Because remember, I said to you, I do remember after you kept talking, there's been one occasion where I had to get a Rideshare by myself, and it was so good. Well, when I got the Rideshare, I got in and I was visibly upset. That situation had happened and I was leaving the situation. And so it may have helped the fact that I was visibly upset and the male driver just did not. I think it might have made him uncomfortable and he just did not talk or anything like that. So that made me feel better because I think I probably would have bit his head off if he would have said anything.
Exactly. If you would have said anything.
I was already
in the room. That was good.
I don't know if you're talking to me right now. You definitely don't want to talk to me right now. And so let's talk to the audience about some of the things that they can do on their side, because there might be someone listening in the audience that says, I'm just nervous. Like, it helps that it's a woman, but I'm nervous about getting in a car with someone that I don't know.
Yeah. These are the top things that I tell anybody that's nervous about rideshare, using rideshare. The number one thing is, if you are going to use rideshare, make sure that you are sharing your location with someone, so that they know where you are before you take the trip. So you always share your location with someone. Say, hey, I'm about to get into this rideshare. I'm about to head to wherever I need to be. Check my location in 10-30 minutes, like make sure that I'm here like I'm supposed to be. And so that's the number one thing. The number two thing I always tell everyone is to check the license plate before you get into the vehicle. A lot of airport pickups, a lot of people are in such a rush to leave the airport that they will literally get into the first car that the person says, hey, I'm your ride. Please do not do that. Make sure you're checking the license plate. There have been a lot of situations where women have gotten into cars because, I drive a black Hyundai Sonata. There are literally a million of them everywhere. And a lot of people use those for rideshare. So it's like, you just get into the first car, first black Sonata you see, because that's what you see on the app. No, check the tag. You need to make sure that the tag is correct and that driver is the person that's driving. So that's the second thing I tell people. Check that license plate number and make sure that profile picture matches as well. And then the third thing is, if you're super, 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 super nervous in Georgia, you don't need a license to carry here. So you can carry if you need to. Make sure that person sees it on you and they won't play with you. I tell people that too as well. Like, make sure, don't be afraid to protect yourself.
Right. Exactly. All of that is really good information. I hope those of you that are listening in the audience are taking notes. I'm that person, when I see stuff on social media, I'm so skeptical, but then it does make me kind of pause for the cause. And I've heard about situations or recommendations and suggestions that when you're doing rideshare and you open the door, to take a look to see if the child safety lock is on. And I'll go ahead and use a disclaimer here. Sometimes people don't even realize that that's on. It could be that they had their car detailed and the person that was detailing accidentally slid it over. So I don't want to paint this picture that if the safety lock is on, don't get into it in the vehicle. Because there could be a myriad number of reasons why that's on. They actually could have children and in the haste of trying to get into their schedule to start picking up passengers, they just simply forgot to slide it over. So don't do a broad brush of, oh, if their safety lock is on, that means that something bad is going to happen.
Yeah.
However, exactly. However, you can bring it to their attention, or you can simply just push it over yourself, and so that it's unlocked. Always make sure that, to your point, that you are watching. The other thing that I've heard about, you bring a good point of sharing your location. You can actually do that through Google's map. Just put in the address that you're going to, and text that to someone and say, hey, I'm in a rideshare. I want someone to know I'm going to send this to you. So that's another way too. What would happen, or what should a person do if they notice that the driver is not going, they're not going to their location? What's the best way to get out of that situation?
Immediately get on the phone and act like you're calling the police. Immediately get on the phone and act like you're calling. Don't even act like you're calling a friend. Act like you're calling the police. Be like, hey, I'm in a rideshare and the driver is not going in the direction that's on the map. I bet you that gets everyone in that car together. I know I've heard multiple, like I've seen TikToks where they have like sounds playing and it's like, oh, it's a friend in the car. Don't even play with people. Act like you're on the phone with the police. Because people like to like some people like to play with you. There are drivers that like to take a longer route so that they can make a little bit more money. Don't let anybody play with you. Act like you're calling the police, or even really call the police. Honestly, I would, because I felt like you were kidnapping me. You were not taking me the route that we were going. So at that point, I felt like I was in a kidnapping situation. You already have their license plate, so on the app. So it's like, hey, I'm in this car. I'm in Uber. So and so. We're on highway I-75. This person is not taking the route that they're supposed to take. Their license plate number is so and so. I bet you they stopped that car right then and there.
Right.
And I bet you they in that ride. Now they'll probably kick you out the car. The route. I'm just saying.
Which is what you want. You want to get kicked out of their vehicle because you want to get to the safe way.
Yep. But if you're feeling, call the police. I know Uber and Lyft, they do have that SOS button on there now where you can call in the middle of emergency. We have that feature as well. Don't even play. Don't call no friends. Call the police, because you have all the information. You're in the car. You have all the information. I know that you may be panicking in that situation.
Definitely. Definitely. Would you, because sometimes people, like you said, to the point when adrenaline is flowing and you are panicking, the first thing that's going to come to your mind is, how do I get out of the situation? And some people may think that, yes, they may think at the next stop, I'm going to get out. I'm just going to open the door and get out.
I personally wouldn't advise that because, I mean, I'm an athlete. I would probably get out the car and run. Like, good luck chasing me. Good luck. Like, good luck catching me. But someone that is not, like, someone that doesn't think the way I think, I kind of think like that in situations. I go into Walmarts and I'm like, oh, if this happens, this is what I'll be doing. Like, a lot of people don't think like that. So I'm going to tell people, call the police, let them handle it. Let highway patrol, whoever it is, because they're the ones with the vehicles. They're the ones with the backup that can come and help you. If you're by yourself and you have no backup, you have no protection for yourself. And you're out of a car and running. I mean, they're in a car. They can chase you with the car. So, or either hit you with the car.
Yes.
Yeah, you don't want to do that.
Very good. Okay, you all are hearing her. This is how you protect yourself if you are in a situation in a rideshare where it takes a left turn that is not supposed to be turning left in terms of your
teenagers take rideshare. I wanted to leave a point. I'm sorry to interrupt, but
you're good.
A lot of teenagers take rideshare and they're not supposed to. Uber and Lyft literally has a rule that you're not supposed to pick up anybody that's under the age of 18, but people break the rule all the time because they need to get to where they're going. There's teenagers that use their parents' accounts. But like schools, even there are certain schools in Georgia, they're like, Uber and Lyft cannot pick up or drop off kids at the school. Like, the kids go across the street to get picked up or dropped off because the schools won't allow them to be on campus. So I'm telling any teenagers, anybody that has teenage daughters that are listening, you need to apply these same rules to your daughters, but times 10. I know that when I was in high school, Uber didn't exist. I know for a fact my mother would never have let me get into an Uber in high school, like ever, period. She was like, you're just not going. Like, you're just not going. You're not getting in a car with a stranger. You're just not going.
Right.
So anybody that has teenage daughters, because a lot of teenage women, we can just be we're very trusting. We're very, we're just go with the flow type
Yeah.
thing. So, very, very vulnerable. So do not let your daughters ride alone. I would say that. Please don't let them ride alone. If they are going to ride, at least have them with their friends. And then again, make sure that you're always tracking their location.
That's really good, Jillian. And I can hear some of the single parents out there that are like, I don't know, because I do know of a situation where one of my friends, her daughter was getting into a ride share, and I was so uncomfortable. And I was like, I'm not comfortable with that. So I don't know what the age limit is, but she's under 18. I think she's like 17 at the time. She might have been 16 getting in, and it just made me super uncomfortable. I was like, I'll take you wherever you need to go. She's like, no, my mom sent this for me. Like my mom ordered the ride for it to come and pick me up. And so what would you say to someone who's listening and they just heard your advice about, number one, it's not allowed, and number two, you're getting around a system that it's easy to get around, but you're also maybe putting your child at risk? What would you say to that parent that is, I don't have any other options. We don't have a vehicle. I'm at work and I don't have anyone that can go pick her up.
I would just say, pray. Please make sure you're praying. Please make sure you're very vigilant and you're paying attention. So if you are going to sit in that ride, make sure that your eyes do not leave that screen until your child makes it to their destination. Make sure that you're calling your child to make sure that they got into the correct vehicle. Make sure that just make sure that, hey, you're in the right vehicle. Hey, what does the person look like? So-and-so, so-and-so. Like, make sure that you're making that child say these things so that the driver understands that, hey, there's someone that cares about this person that's in this vehicle with me. So I think that would be my biggest thing, is if you have no other option, then just make sure overcheck and make sure that your kid arrives to the destination that they need to be safely.
That's excellent. And I know we spent a lot of time right now on this particular topic of women's safety, but I don't know that we can spend too much. One of the things that readily comes to my mind that has just really exploded over the last probably 10 years, has gotten worse within the last 5 years, is sex trafficking. To your knowledge, do sex traffickers use, or are they drivers themselves, or do they use rideshare for their conduct?
So for what I've heard from people that comment and stuff like that, I've heard that drivers, that there are drivers that are affiliated in that industry, in that market. And then that I've heard that they also use women to abduct or subdue women, to subdue other women as well. And so to my response to those people, I cannot control that. I do not know who works in the sex trafficking industry. I wish I did. I wish there was a list of all those people, but there is not. The biggest thing that I can do is for everyone is to read the room. I also tell all my customers, don't fall asleep on a rideshare ride. Like, I don't care how comfortable you feel, do not fall asleep, because you need to make sure that you get to where you're going. And if you fall asleep, somebody can easily just take the wrong exit somewhere, and now you don't know where you're at. So I always tell people, don't even fall asleep during rideshare rides. Women that decide to get too intoxicated and can't drive home, again, you need to make sure. I don't put myself in these type of situations where I'm be in a risky situation like this. But if I would, or if I did, I will make sure that I'm on the phone with somebody. It's 2 or 3 o'clock in the morning. You need to make sure somebody's on the phone with you while you're drunk, headed home. If it's just, hey, are you good? How far away are you? 5 minutes. Okay, all right, stay up. Like, somebody that can keep you awake on the phone, so make sure that you get home safely. Because you're right, I don't know what women work with sex traffickers. I don't know what men work with sex traffickers. All I know is that we can't do anything about those situations until they present themselves.
Right.
If they present themselves, the way that I'm going to handle it, the way our company is going to handle it, is I've always been big on public shaming. So if we find out that there is someone who is within that there is a contractor or a driver, we're going to blast their name, blast their face, blast all that information. Why? Because you gave us that information, terms and conditions. And so we're going to blast all that information for everyone to see. This is what you do. This is how you move. So That's my way of handling it. I don't like that Uber and Lyft keeps that stuff under wraps. I feel like there should be a whole website dedicated to all the past Uber and Lyft drivers that have had some type of sexual, some misconduct or anything like that happening. Like their picture should be blasted. Like,
Mm-hmm.
not be able to work in these type of environments. No, you need to be in a warehouse working where you don't interact with people, because
Mm-hmm.
clearly personal, interpersonal skills is not your strong suit.
Yeah.
Else.
Right. So to that point, what things do you have in place with HERide that vets potential drivers? Is there a background check? What is it that you're doing to do as much as you can?
As much as we can. So we use a different background system than Uber Lyft does. Ours is a little bit more in depth. And so it goes it's nationwide, of course. And so we still have to follow the standards that Georgia law has. So anybody that has a felony within the last 7 years can't even drive.
Mm-hmm.
So that's a law that they have. We cannot do anything about it. I can't
Mm-hmm.
go around it. And so after that, we do our vehicle inspections. And
Mm-hmm.
so we do in-person vehicle inspections. And so that guarantees that the person that applied and sent us the application and the forms is the person that they say they are.
Mm-hmm.
I've had friends that have beat or finessed the Uber and Lyft system by submitting, Photoshop or copied documentation, and they have allowed it. They'll accept drivers. I think that they've gotten a little bit better because a few people have called them out about it. But yeah, they were using some system that wasn't being monitored by actual human. And so you could get around it by just submitting documentation that looked like the documentation that they were looking for.
Mm-hmm.
So that's why we do in-person inspection, because again, we want to make sure that you are the person that you say you are. And then that's it. And again, that process is lengthy, and so most people aren't willing to go through a process like that if they're up to no good.
Right. So to that point of, and I want to put out there, because I do have to put out this disclaimer that what my guest is saying as it relates to specific ride shares has not been confirmed by conversations with Coach. So I do want to just put that out that these are her opinions and she's sharing that with the audience. So lastly, under this this particular subject matter, you mentioned that you go out and make an in-person visit to do an inspection of the vehicle to make sure that they're the person and it's the actual vehicle, there's no alterations. For your company, how often after the initial hire, when is that repeated, or is that repeated?
Is what repeated?
Where you inspect the vehicle, because at the first inspection they may have it to where it fits, but if after that they may do some alterations that you otherwise would have gotten them disqualified.
So we will conduct another inspection if a complaint comes about the vehicle. So if there's something, if a customer reaches out and they're like, hey, this car is supposed to be this car, but it was this car, immediately we'll be setting one. And we'll be pausing your account until one is completed.
Oh, wow.
You won't be able to complete another trip until one is completed anyway. But yeah.
Nice. So in your introduction, I talked about your background in technology and having just a passion for that for a really long time. So how does technology and business play? Because you've mentioned just in passing about the mobile app, and so specifically about your mobile app, you said you had someone to design it. Talk to us a little bit more about the app.
Yeah, so I outsourced the development of my app. And so what that means is I found a team overseas that built my app for me. I own the code to my app, but I did not code it. So I had a team that built it for me. They customized it to my liking. And then I own the code after that. But I tell people this all the time. I'm a tech person. So I have a computer science degree. I know how to code. I just don't like to. And so I tell people, anybody that wants to get into this business or this side, if you are not as tech savvy as like someone that has a computer science degree or someone that works in technology, get a partner that is. Don't even try to be like, oh, I can finesse it. No, they're going to finesse you every single time because you don't know the terminology, you don't know the language.
Yeah,
it's going to get confusing, and they are very, very good at making people pay for things that they don't need in this industry, in terms of support, in terms of just like they'll, I had an issue where they said that they pushed my app to live. So like when you get a new app or a new update to the app, it goes to a test version first. And then
Yes,
you go to the live app store. They were
correct.
supposed to push it to the live app store 2 weeks ago and didn't push it. I
Uh,
told them to push it. I told them to push it, but I was having an issue with the current version, and then they were like, "Oh, well, now do you want to pay us for support?" No, there's no support that needs to be paid. You guys are supposed to push the current version to the app store, and then that's it. I don't need to pay you guys $500 to click a button. Like, you get what I'm saying? So like they'll try to do stuff like that. And that's really where they make majority of their money from.
So my question for you as it relates to mobile app development is from an entrepreneurial side, because we obviously may be having some of those individuals that are part of our listening audience for this episode. And I have been thinking about what would it be like to have, as a coach, my own app for my business. What went into obviously for your arena, that's super important. I mean, how else are they going to get in touch with you outside of the app? I mean, there's other ways, but it make it a little bit more cumbersome. And for you to be competitive in that rideshare market, having a mobile app was like top priority number one in getting that done. What would you say to an entrepreneur who is not in the rideshare business, but their business definitely could be taken to the next level? And since you did outsource yours, what are maybe top 3 things now looking back on it? Well, I guess I should say, what are the things that you did well and you would recommend to do again? And then looking back on it, anything that now that you know, it's like, okay, I would do this differently the next time.
Things I did well with this journey is choosing. I did well with the price. I didn't have to pay more than $10,000 to get my app done.
Wow.
And I have 4 apps. So I have 2 apps on Android, 2 apps on iOS, and then I have a dashboard that runs it, and then I have a website. So I paid for all that and got it for less than 10.
Wow.
Amazing price. Yes.
Amazing price.
Yeah, I would say that's probably the best thing that I did. But another thing that something that I would have changed, I would have been a lot more hands-on in the beginning with the team and the development team, of them knowing who I am as the founder, what I look like, because I think once they saw what I looked like a year or 2 later, they started acting a little bit different, and I was like, maybe I should have showed my face a little bit earlier. But yeah, so showing them who I am and how competent I was in technology, because they didn't know. And so there was a couple things that happened, and I was like, "Oh, y'all just tried me. Y'all don't know that I actually know how to code." So I had to kind of clear the air and be like, "Hey, I got a degree in this, you guys, and so I know how long certain things are supposed to take." And so that I should have been a little bit more vocal just as a founder. Another thing that I did well on one state that I really did do well is making sure that I owned my source code. I went that contract that they gave me before we even signed it, and I took it to a lawyer, and I was like, "Hey, in this contract, does it say that I own the source code after I pay for everything?" And the lawyer was like, "Yes." I was like, "Cool, bet." Because owning the source code is probably the most important. That's my IP. That's my intellectual property.
I was going to ask you what you're speaking Greek to me now. Tell me as well as my audience what a source code, because we're not like Jillian Anderson. Most of us don't have a background or a degree in technology. And so for layman's, for us, what would you tell us what source code is and the importance of it?
So source code is the code to the app. I don't know if anyone has ever been on developer tools on Google Chrome, but all that code that comes up on the other picture, that's what presents the website or whatever it is that you're seeing on the screen. And so I own the code to my app, which is the language of the app, which is the DNA of the app. So I
Gotcha.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, owning that DNA is critical and important. And so now that you have the app, you've got your website, talk about the whole scaling HERide. Where is HERide located now, and what do we looking forward to seeing in the near future?
All right, so HERide is in the Atlanta area only. And I say Atlanta area because I know a lot of people, there was a song that came out this year that caused a lot of controversy about where exactly Atlanta is. And so I want everyone to understand, for HERide, Atlanta area or Atlanta and Atlanta area is if you're in the center of Atlanta and it takes you 30 minutes to get home in any direction, we cover that entire radius. So that is Atlanta area for us. Anything outside of that is not Atlanta area. So you can take that up, take the argument amongst with your friends, family, but that's how we're measuring it. And so our goal right now is to get 1,000 drivers in Atlanta doing at least 10 rides a week. And then I'll be ready to scale to any city in the country.
Awesome. And where are you presently sitting with the number of riders towards your goal of 1,000?
Currently, we have about 374 drivers. We haven't gotten them all processed, but they're all interested in driving for us. I have about 74 drivers on the road right now.
That is excellent. And so to your point, when you shared with us in the beginning, you have all female drivers. What if there's a male driver that's out there like saying, hey, I would fit this model. I really like it. I'm super concerned about women's safety, maybe because of some previous family experience or whatever. What would you say to that individual?
I would let them know that they would need to go apply to Uber and Lyft, the other rideshare companies. There are about 4 other rideshare companies in Georgia that men can apply to. This is not one of them. This is not one of them. And our drivers are not, also, by the way, for anybody, disclaimer, the drivers for rideshare companies are not employees. They are independent contractors. And so we have the right to refuse anybody that applies. So yes, we only want women drivers on our platform.
And for those of you that are listening and tuning in and you're like, yes, this is a breath of fresh air. It's, something that I have always wanted, but I'm outside of that 30 minutes. You can help push that toward by recommending drivers, someone that you know that can use the extra income and that they would feel comfortable in a women-owned, women-run, women-supported rideshare company. To my knowledge, you're the only one are you the only one in the United States?
No, we're not the only one in the United States, but we're the only one approved by the Department of Public Safety in Georgia. So there are a couple in Georgia that have reached out to me and they're like, oh, hey, I'm doing the same thing you're doing, or they haven't reached out to collab or partner up. But according to the Department of Public Safety, me, Uber, Lyft, and another company named Move, something like that, are the only rideshare companies that are approved to drive in Georgia. So we're the only ones that are legitimized.
That is important for you all to hear because there may be others who are coming up, but they haven't gotten that stamp of approval from the state of Georgia. Make sure you do your due diligence and you do your homework and you research that because your safety, it is important to your safety. So I do this thing called Call to Action. It's for my audience. And this is how they're going to be able to get in touch with you. This is how they're going to be able to ask more questions about how they can become one of your drivers. And if you're watching this on replay or you're listening to this live, you don't have to worry about going to get a piece of paper. You all know how I do it. I put everything in the show notes. It's going to live in the show notes. You can contact Jillian and her company on Facebook and Instagram, and she's made it really easy. Get HERide. And sometimes when you're reading that really fast, the her doesn't stand out, but it's not 2 R's. The R from the her is the beginning of the word ride. So make sure you put it in correctly or you're not going to be able to find her. Or just click the links in the show notes after this airs. You can also go on her website. So if you are someone that you're interested in driving and you want to get a little bit more information, this is the place to go. You want to get more information about the locations that she serves. This is the place that you want to go. It gives you a lot more details. And again, her web address is HERide, and the HER is capitalized. So make sure that you're sharing. We want her to be able to scale within the state of Georgia, and as well as expand to other cities because it is needed. It is a market that is definitely needed to keep us safe. It's for us by us. So definitely help to support that. Now, Jillian, before I let you get out of here, there's something that I always do with my guests, and I don't ever tell you all about it until it's time to do it. And that's in the final thoughts. What is the one, with me being a mindset coach, what is the one mindset shift that you would like to leave with women as it relates to rideshare?
The one mindset shift?
Mm-hmm.
I would say there's power. Women need to recognize how powerful we are as women. We are leaders, and a lot of us are becoming more leaders, especially in our work environments. And so we need to use that power to our advantage. Don't be scared of it. Don't run from it. Don't be intimidated of it. Embrace it.
Thank you so much. That's great. Just remember our power and use it to our advantage and for our safety. Jillian, we could go on, and I'm definitely going to have you back, because as you grow and you reach that 1,000, I want you to reach out to me and say, hey, Miss Christina, I did it. And then we'll talk about the next steps and how conversations with Coach, or how I can help you to get there, because I am super proud of you, as I know you are of yourself, and I know your mom is over the moon proud. And so just keep up the great work. And thank you so much for being here and giving us all of this knowledge and information, some of which I did not even know about ride sharing, and some that I knew, but maybe possibly might not have handled it in the right way. So thank you so much.
It's no problem at all. I'll be glad to come back. I can't wait to come back.
I can't wait to have you back either. I'm going to say goodbye to my audience, and then I'll be right back with you.
All right.
And there you have it. This was a very informative episode of Conversations with Coach, and you could go as far as to say it's a matter of life and death. Ride sharing is a part of our world, is a part of our existence. Many people don't own vehicles. They live in a city where transportation is difficult, and they do depend on rideshare. And we, as women, need to feel safe when we are participating in using these types of services. So I do really want you all to reach out to Jillian. I want, if you live in the Atlanta area and you are a female and you are traveling within the radius that she services, this should be the first rideshare app. Actually, this should be the only rideshare app that you pull up, so that you can help her to grow. And again, if you know of someone who's looking for an extra job, and they are female and they have expressed interest in doing rideshare but had apprehensions for whatever their reason is, you need to be pressing the share button right now. And after this goes on replay, you need to make sure that you send them the link so that they can hear it themselves. You all know where to find me. And in case that this is your first time joining and you haven't followed me you just happened up on this episode, right? And you're not following on any of my platforms. Well, I've made it really easy for you. Christina Mindset Coach. Instagram, Facebook, YouTube, LinkedIn. I have a TikTok account. I have a Pinterest account that I'm growing. And it would be my honor for you to join me on these platforms and allow me to pour into you. Maybe you're having some challenges in your area of confidence and needing to get a mindset shift about something. Visit me on my website and schedule your free clarity call so that I can partner with you to help you to get unstuck. And again, thank you so much for joining me, and I will see you same time, same place next week. Make it a good one.
Thank you for tuning in to Conversations with Coach. Please be sure to follow Coach Christina on all of her social media platforms. And remember, life is only as good as your mindset.